Hello everyone. In today's lecture, we will discuss socialist principle mentioned in the preamble to the Indian Constitution. I have already discussed Indian Constitution, its features and preamble and what are the current status of preamble regarding amendability. In case you have not watched, please go and check polity playlist. You will find all the videos of polity there. So, what do you understand by socialist? Preamble of the Indian Constitution state natures of the how will be the nature of India. It is talking about sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic, republic. Right? Preamble is talking about the nature of the India. It is talking about socialism, socialist, democratic, republic, secular. So we have already sovereign. So we have already discussed sovereignty. The term socialist was added to the Indian Constitution by 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act 1976. So, does it mean India was not a India didn't have a socialist principle before the 1976? No. Indian Constitution mentioned the socialist element, but it was implicit. 42nd Constitutional Amendment only make this provision, make this principle as an explicit. Where do we find the socialist principle in the Constitution of India? Directive principle of state policy. Directive principle of state policy, part 4 of the Constitution. The aim of the directive principle to make welfare state. Several provision of directive principle is of the socialist nature. For example, Article 39 Clause B and Article 39 Clause C. So what is Article 39 Clause B and Article 39 Clause C? So I will read it out, the Article 39B. Article 39B Article 39 Clause B states that the ownership and control of material resources of the community are so distributed as best to subserve the common good. So what are the community resources? It is talking about community resources. Article 39 Clause B is stating that community resources. So what are community resources? Land, minerals. These community resources should be distributed in such a way so it should benefit society as a whole. Rather than a few person or a group of people. So it is talking about the equitable distribution of the community resources. And Article 39 Clause C states that the operation of economic system does not result in the concentration of wealth and means of production to the common detriment. So what do you understand by Article 39 Clause C? Article 39 Clause C states that economy should avoid the concentration of wealth. Concentration of wealth. Concentration of wealth in few hands. Its aim is to prevent economic inequality. So Article 39 Clause B and Article 39 Clause C is talking about the socialist principle. 39B is talking about the community resource should be distributed so it should benefit the society as a whole. And Article 39C is that the economic system does not lead to the concentration of wealth in few hands or a small group of people. And so directive principles is talking about the socialist principle. In the preamble also, preamble is talking about to secure its citizen to justice. Preamble envisages for the justice, and it is talking about the three type of justice, that is social, economic, and political justice. So here we find the principle of socialism. Indian Constitution and the preamble is also talking about the equality of status and of opportunity. Equality in status and opportunity. So these all are the socialist element. So before 1976, India already has an element of socialism, but it was implicit. It was not sorry. It was not mentioned explicitly. What 42nd constitutional amendment has done, that it has made this provision explicit, but it doesn't mean India didn't have the socialist principle or the socialist element before the addition of 42nd constitutional amendment. So now most important question come, what is socialism? How it is different from capitalism? What are the aim of socialism? And what are the different model of socialism? And how Indian socialism, that is democratic form of socialism, is different from the general form of socialism. So what is socialism? It is a philosophy. It is a political, economic, socialist philosophy which is talking about the nature of which is what are its aim, collective ownership of, of material resources. The core idea of socialism is the collective ownership of the resources. It is talking about the collective control over the economic resources and the production. So, socialism is a principle or a philosophy which talks about the resources such as industry, transportation, energy, healthcare should be owned or regulated by the government, communities, or worker rather than entirely controlled by private individual or corporation. It is talking about the control of resources. Main idea is the control of resources. Who will control the resources under socialism? Government, communities, rather than the private individual or corporation. What are the aim of socialism? What are the aim of socialism? Reduce economic inequality. Reducing the economic inequality. So the gaps between rich and poor, reducing the gaps between rich and poor. Social welfare. Social welfare should be ensured by providing the essential like healthcare, education, social security to every individual, and the collective benefit of society as a whole. Collective benefit of society rather than the benefit of few persons. And regulating the key sector, public sector should be regulated by the public, by the government or by the communities. What will happen if the social welfare like essential healthcare education is controlled by the private player? What will happen to those persons who did not afford the healthcare and the education? Who will take their responsibility? So the aim of socialism to ensure that people must get the basic essentials like healthcare, education, social security. No one should be deprived from it. What is the difference between socialism and the capitalism? यहाँ पे ओनरशिप किसकी होगी? सोशलिज्म फिलॉसफी के अंदर इट इज टॉकिंग अबाउट द ओनरशिप ऑफ गवर्नमेंट, communities, and here in capitalism, ownership lies in the hand of private player. Motive. What is the motive of socialism? Welfare of the people. And here the motive is profit earning, only profit earning. For example, the capitalist country is the USA. Socialism, we have a Norway, China. Now we will see the different branch of socialism. So the different branch of socialism. सोशलिज्म से बहुत सारे और आइडियाज निकले, जैसे कम्युनिज्म. कम्युनिज्म is also the philosophy where it is talking about the collective ownership of the resources, but how it is different from socialism. It is more radical in nature. It is talking about classless society. In general socialism, it is not talking about classless society. It is only talking about the ownership of the material resources should be either by the government community, not by any private individual. But here, communism is a radical in nature. It is talking about the revolution. It's talking about a classless society, making a world a classless society. Then comes the Indian model of socialism. How it is different. Indian model of socialism. Indian model of socialism is different from the general socialism. India is practicing democratic socialism. Democratic socialism. That is democratic socialism. India seeks to achieve social and economic justice through democratic and constitutional means while allowing a political freedom, private property, and mixed economy. Indian socialism, that is democratic socialism, it is based, it want to make India as a demo is a achieve it wants India to achieve social and economic justice, but the means of achieving a social and economic justice are different from what are the means in the general socialism. Means of achieving socialism here is constitution. constitutional means and democratic. So it is different from the general principle of socialism, because in India multi-party exists, right? Fundamental right exists, even the private property also exists. So what are the model of Indian economy? It is neither a capitalist nor a socialist, it is between. That is mixed economy. Mixed economy is an economic system where both private and public player exist. Government look after the essential like healthcare, education, social securities. So how the Indian model of socialism is different from the general principle of socialism. And democratic socialism that India practiced. How these two are different. Difference in method. Here the method may be revolutionary, non-democratic, but here to achieve the socialism method is democratic, constitutional. Through constitutional means India envisaged to achieve the socialism. For example, through DPSPs. In socialism political system, nature of political system is one party. But in India, political system here exists multi-party. No private property. But in India, private property can exist. Private property can exist. Here the participation of private player is restricted. Private players are restricted. Here private player in democratic socialism, private player can exist. Right? In socialism, individual rights are not valued over the collective goals. That is individual rights like fundamental rights. Okay, it will not given a priority over the community goal. But in democratic socialism in India, fundamental rights are not subordinate to societal goal. If your right is violated, fundamental right is violated, you can directly approach the Supreme Court or a High Court, despite if it did not fulfill the broader goal of society also. You can approach the court directly. But in the general principle of socialism, individual rights are subordinate to the goal of the society. So in India, the general principle of socialism is not fully applicable, though India practices a democratic model of socialism. What are the Supreme Court positions? Supreme Court has interpreted the term socialist in the preamble as promoting welfare state and reducing inequalities. So the aim of Indian socialism is to promote equality and social welfare rather than complete nationalization. So goal of the Indian socialism is to achieve the equality and welfare of all the people rather than by complete nationalization of the resources. Therefore, India has a mixed economy where both private and public players can exist side by side. Now there is a debate. Did India deviate from socialism after adoption of new economic policy? After the adoption of new economic policy, did India deviated from the principle of socialism? So what are the arguments in favor that India deviated from the principle of socialism? Liberalization of the economy abolished the license Raj. Liberalization abolished the license Raj, which in some way diluted the principle of socialism. Privatization, public sector undertaking were disinvested. This investment lead this investment. So what is this investment? If any public company, public sector, where what is this investment? Share of a company where 51% share exists with government and rest 49% is diluted to private player is called a disinvestment. The still government hold the majority of the stake in if the government hold majority of the stake in the company, that is it hold the more than 50%, that is 51%, it will call the disinvestment. Globalization, what happened with globalization? Globalization opened the door for foreign investment and multinational corporation. What are the counter argument that socialism has not India has not been deviated from the path of socialism after the economic policy of 1991. Constitutional commitment remains because the Indian Constitution is talking about welfare state by in term of BPSPs. Many welfare policies have been implemented by the government like MG Nareka, food subsidies, social security. State regulation still continues in the sectors such as banking, insurance, infrastructure. Welfare policies. Government implemented many welfare policies, for example, MG Narega, which guarantees 100 days of assured employment to unskilled labor. 100 days of employment to unskilled labor. So now the duration 100 days is increased to 125 days. Now the labor is getting the assured employment of 125 days of unskilled manual work to the unskilled labor are now getting assured employment of 125 days in manual work, and the name of MG Narega has been changed to VVG Ram. Subsidies are provided on fertilizers, food subsidies. Under the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana, 80 crores beneficiaries are provided 5 kg of grains, whether the rice or wheat, free of cost. 80 crores beneficiaries are getting food grains free of cost. There are also provision of subsidized food grains, that is rice, wheat, at the minimal charge of rupees 3 and rupees 2 per kg via PDS to ensure the food security. Under the National Food Security Act, government is providing the subsidized rate of rice and wheat to the poor through PDS at the rate of rupees 3 and 2 per kg respectively. So these are the welfare measures. These are the measures taken to ensure the socialism, to ensure the welfare of the people, which is the aim of the socialism, to reduce the inequality. There are social security schemes like Atal Pension Yojana. सोशल सिक्योरिटी के लिए गवर्नमेंट ने बहुत सारे स्कीम्स लाए हैं, जैसे वी हैव अटल पेंशन योजना. It is talking about insurance. It is giving insurance to workers, to unskilled workers. Pradhan Mantri Arogya Yojana, which is a health insurance. Ayushman Bharat Yojana, which is talking about the coverage of rupees 5 lakh healthcare. India has the progressive taxation system. India, through its taxation policy, also redistributing its wealth. Income tax slab is different for all people. There are different slabs of income. So this is the progressive taxation. Rich are paying more taxes compared to the poor, and these the money which is the tax money which is different for the different category of the people is redistributed via welfare schemes or by giving a subsidized rates of foods, fertilizer, electricity, etc. to the poor or the BPL. India has the mixed economy. India's model of economy is mixed. It's neither the capitalism nor the socialist. It's a mixed economy where both private and public player exist side by side. I hope you understood what is socialist principle, how Indian social you understand. I hope you understand the Indian version of socialism. It was how it was added with the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act, and where the principle of socialism was mentioned earlier, how DPSP ensured the welfare of people, and how Indian model of socialism, that is democratic socialism, is different from the general form of socialism. I hope you understand. We'll meet you in the next class. Thank you.